Welcome to Learning with UNP. In this session of Python for Data Science, we are going to understand about strings as arrays. That includes accessing individual characters, negative indexing, string length, and finally iterating over characters. Let's begin with understanding array operations in Python. An array is a data structure that stores a collection of elements, typically of the same data type, in a contiguous block of memory. Arrays allow for efficient storage and retrieval of data because each element can be accessed directly via its index, which is an integer representing the position of the element in the array. An array is a special variable which can hold more than one value at a time. In many programming languages, including Python, arrays are used to handle large datasets efficiently, perform mathematical computations, manipulate sequences of values, and perform various operations on them. Arrays can be one-dimensional, like a simple list of numbers, or multidimensional, like a grid or matrix, or even more complex structures as higher dimensional tensor. Arrays are crucial in computer science and various applications because they allow easy access and modification of elements using indices. Their fixed size and sequential memory allocation makes them efficient for implementing algorithms and managing data. Here is the syntax of it. The line myArray equals to element 1, 2, 3 creates an array named myArray with three initial elements. This array allows for easy access and modification of its element by their indices. Let's look at the pseudocode representation of it. Step 1. Initialize a list variable myArray. Means create a list variable called myArray. Step 2. Add elements to the list separated by commas. You populate this list with the elements, each separated by a comma. Here is an example demonstrating the creation of list and accessing elements in it. My array is a list variable that is initialized with the elements 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The list is initialized using square brackets. The print function is then used to display the contents of my array. Let's execute and check. As we discussed, the output is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, let's move on to understanding strings as arrays. In Python, a string can be treated like an array of characters where each character has an index starting from 0. This means you can access individual characters or parts of the string which are known as substrings using square brackets and indices. First, let us understand how to access individual characters. You can access individual characters in a Python string by using square brackets with the characters index. The syntax to do this is character equals to my string of index. This line retrieves the character at the specified index from the string my string. Now let's look at the pseudocode representation of it. Step 1. Initialize a string variable myString means create a string and store it in a variable called myString. Step 2. Identify the index of the character to access means determine which character's position you want to access. Step 3. Use the index to access the character from myString means use this position to get the character from myString. Step 4. Assign the character to a variable character means store this character in a variable called character. This example demonstrates accessing individual characters of the string hello using their indices. My string of 0 retrieves the character at index 0. My string of 1 retrieves the character at index 1. Let's execute and check. The character at index 0 is H and the character at index 1 is E. And this is the output. Let's move on to the next topic, that is negative indexing. Negative indexing in Python allows you to access elements from the end of a sequence. In Python, negative indexing starts from end of the sequence, that is -1 represents the last character, -2 represents the second last character, and so on. Using the syntax provided here, we can easily access characters from the end of the string using negative indices. Let's look at the pseudocode representation of it. Step 1. Initialize a string variable myString. Means start with a string variable called myString. Step 2. Identify the negative index of the character to access. Means determine the position of the character you want to access counting from the end of the string. Step 3. Use the negative index to access the character from the end of myString. Means use this position to retrieve the character from the end of myString. Step 4. Assign the character to a variable character. Means store this character in a variable named character. This example illustrates accessing characters from the end of the string. Here we have a variable called myString which has the value hello. We will access hello using negative indices. MyString of -1 retrieves the last character of the string. MyString of -2 retrieves the second last character of the string. Let's execute and check. As we discussed, MyString of -1 has the character O, MyString of -2 has character L. Here is the next topic, that is string length. In Python, you can find the length of a string using len function, which is represented as len function. This function returns the number of characters in the string. Using this syntax mentioned here, we can find the length of the string. Length will hold the number of characters in the string myString. Here is a pseudocode representation of it. Step 1. Initialize a string variable myString. Means start with a string variable called myString. Step 2. Use the length function to determine the length of myString. Means use the length function to count how many characters are there in myString. Step 3. Assign the length to a variable length. Means save this count in a variable named length. Example mentioned here demonstrates finding the length of the string hello using the length function. The length function is used to determine the length of string myString, which contains 5 characters. This length is then printed using this print statement. Let's execute this and check. As we already discussed, the length of the string hello is 5, which is displayed here. And the last topic that we will look into is iterating over characters. You can iterate over the characters of a string using a loop, treating the string as an array of characters. In simple way, you can loop over the characters of a string as if it were an array. This allows you to process each character individually. Using the syntax for character in myString, code block to process each character, this character represents each individual character in the string myString, allowing you to perform operations on them within the loop. Here is the pseudocode representation of it. Step 1. Initialize a string variable myString. Means begin with a string variable named myString. Step 2. Use a for loop to iterate over each character in myString. Means utilize a for loop to iterate through each character in myString. Step 3. Inside the loop, process each character as needed. Means inside the loop, perform operations on each character as required. Finally, here is an example that demonstrates how to iterate over each character in the string hello using a for loop in Python. In each iteration, the variable char holds the current character. The print char statement prints each character resulting in the output. Let's execute and check. As we discussed, it shows the ability to access and process each character of a string sequentially as printed here. HELLO. This is all about today's lecture. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.